Hello everyone, welcome to another series of In-Depth. Today's topic of discussion is why wheat procurement figures are good news. First of all, we will discuss about the background of the topic. Good news for policymakers. Crop has not been damaged. Why the increase? Wheat versus rice. And what will higher government wheat procurement this time will do? First of all, moving on to the background. Wheat procurement by government agencies is set to cross 25 million tons in the current rabi marketing season. The crop continues to arrive in the mandis and cumulative purchases at 21.31 MT, that is million tons, as on Friday has already surpassed the 18.79 MT bought during the entire 2022 season, that is from April to June. The Food Corporation of India or FCI is a public sector undertaking which comes under the Department of Food and Public Distribution, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. It is a statutory body set up in 1965 under the Food Corporations Act 1964. It was established against the backdrop of major shortage of grains, especially wheat. Simultaneously, Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices, that is CACP, was created in 1965 to recommend remunerative prices to farmers. It has primary duty to undertake purchase, store, move or transport, distribute and sell food grains and other foodstuffs. Now, good news for policymakers. The first has to do with production. Last year, a spike in temperatures during March, when the crop was at the grain formation and filling stage, had severely impacted wheat yields. This year, the second half of March saw unseasonal rain accompanied by high winds, causing the wheat plants to lodge, that is bend over or even fall flat in many places. The yield losses are limited. The Punjab government's agriculture department has assessed average wheat yields in the state at 47.2 quintals per hectare. This is more than last year's 42.17 quintals, even though less than the 50.08, 51 and 51.88 quintals in the preceding 3 years. The crop is thus below normal but better than in 2022. The second source of relief would be the procurement itself. Government wheat purchases of 18.79 MT last year were not just below the all-time high of 43.34 MT of 2021, but also the lowest since the 11.13 MT of 2007. The result was that the Food Corporation of India's or FCI's godowns did not have much wheat to meet the requirements of the public distribution system, that is PDS. The other government schemes including midday meals in schools and open market sales for cooling prices. But the fact that both market arrivals and procurement have been higher compared to last year is perhaps proof that the crop has not suffered as much damage as was initially feared. Now, why the increase? The increase in offtake was largely on account of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. It has doubled the subsidized grain allocation for the 813.5 million persons covered under the NFSA from 5 kg to 10 kg per month. Now, let's discuss about wheat versus rice. Wheat being in short supply after last year's failed crop, the burden of feeding the PDS has fallen disproportionately on rice. The offtake of rice from the central pool during 2022-23 hit a record both in absolute 63.8 MT and relative 68.9% of total terms. Wheat offtake fell by nearly 43% last year, that is 2021-22. But even after that, stocks of the rabi cereal depleted to a 7-year low on April 1 at 8.35 MT. There were just a shade above the normative minimum of 7.46 MT at the start of the new marketing season, necessary to cover both PDS operations and any procurement shortfall. Now let's understand what will higher government wheat procurement this time will do. It will help replenish the much depleted stocks of wheat. The discontinuation of the 5 kg additional grain quota per person per month under PM-GKAY after December 2022 should, in the normal course, bring down the total central pool offtake to within 65 to 66 MT. The government has targeted wheat purchases for this season at 34.15 MT, which seems a tall order. But even if procurement touches 25-26 MT, it can meet about 40% of the reduced overall offtake requirement. Second, more wheat in the government godowns would take the load of rice to that extent. This may also be necessary in view of the chances of a not so great monsoon this year following 4 consecutive good rainfall years from 2019 to 2022. The US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in its recent update has predicted a 62% probability of an El Nino developing during May to July 2023. The dependence on monsoon remains a challenge. Given the past association of failed southwest monsoon seasons June to September in India, the abnormal atmospheric wind and sea surface temperature variability phenomenon over the equatorial Pacific, policymakers would need to brace for a subnormal 2023 Kharif harvest. This could particularly impact the production of rice, which was the mainstay of the PDS last year. That level of heavy lifting cannot be expected from rice this year. Wheat procurement and production being more than last year should go some way in cooling cereal inflation. Retail prices of cereals rose 15.27% year on year in March, higher than the corresponding 5.66% general consumer inflation for the month. Government grain stocks have overall been comfortably above the buffer levels, only thanks to rice. The wheat from this year's procurement will provide an additional layer of comfort. All this plus the fact that global food prices have come off more than a fifth of their March 2022 peaks after Russia's invasion of Ukraine should bring some respite to the government and the Reserve Bank of India. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.